Welcome to Selling Out.
Coming up on today's episode.
Growing up in the 80s and 90s, you were just told you were wrong.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. You can be damn sure if they're going for the people that they feel they're able to now, they'll be coming straight for the others after.
Why would someone like you be able to do this?
After about 100, you would go, should we just put them in the skin? Yeah, just put them in the skin. So, used to get rid of most of them in the skin. Yeah.
Before we welcome today's guests, a quick thank you to our brilliant sponsors.
Yeah, if you're heading to Brighton and you want to make the trip legendary, quite literally, book your stay at Legends Hotel right on the seafront and just steps away from the city's best nightlife.
They're also the home to some of Brighton's hottest drag shows, so you can sleep, sip and party all in one place.
Book at legendsresortbrighton.com and tell them we sent you.
And if your current headache is less, where am I staying this weekend, and more, how do I buy this house?
Mortgage Medics have you covered. They specialise in straightforward, no drama mortgage advice, whether you're buying your first place, moving up or refinancing.
Their team take the stress out of the process, find the right deal for you, and make sure you're smiling long after you got those keys.
Basically, they're your home-owning headache cure.
So go to mortgage-medics.com and tell them we sent you.
Welcome to Selling Out, Adam and Rick. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome. It's a Northern People special.
Oh,
It is.
Oh, they're all
we
from up
will
north.
not shut up.
No, you will not. Just
Never gonna
a
finish.
notice to our listeners and watchers this week. This is a 4-hour episode.
And subtitles are available.
So we
Even better.
How dare you? We will start as we start every episode. Can you please both share which letter of the alphabet fits you best and your pronouns, please, Rick?
I think I'm the GQ. We're all Q, aren't we, though? Yeah.
I don't know. We've had a couple of kind of thoughts around whether Q fits with people and not like in the queer term. I mean, I fully embrace queer and we've had a few people like that. But yeah, G and Q.
Well,
I
I'm
love
the G, and he, him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lovely. Adam?
I'm a glorious G, and he, him.
A glorious G, not just a
think
regular.
so.
You're a GG.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a GG.
GG.
I also love that you're GQ. Like,
Yeah.
very stylish. We had
Very
B&Q
stylish.
last
We had
episode
B&Q,
with
yeah.
Rachel
B&Q.
from Archangels.
She
Now
was-
we've got GQ.
Yeah.
Very DIY.
And I look like the cover of a GQ.
You do?
magazine.
I was going to say that.
Yeah.
I was going to say that. Right. And we're going to start with, as we always start out, what was your first ever job? Who will we start with? Who wants to go first?
Apart from a paper round,
You know what? We've had a couple of people say paper round. I think we had Alex Ryan say, I had a paper round, but I did used to sell rip-outs of porn mags in school. Does that count?
Yeah.
I never went there.
He did, yes. We made a little bit of money, always being a bit of an entrepreneur.
Love
Yeah.
that. So paper rounds counts. You
So
can say
paper round,
next
I
one
think
as well.
my first actual payslip job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's that?
Was at Showcase Cinemas. I don't. Is Showcase
still
Cinemas
around?
still a thing? I know the one that I worked in isn't. It's been
Right.
bulldozed. It was in Manchester. It's a dodgy part of Manchester. And I always remember this as well because I was paid £2.33 an hour.
Well,
Everybody remembers how much they were paid.
Yeah.
I was
I remember your
£2.75.
first
I've
pay.
talked about it before.
Oh, look at you, posh.
Yeah.
Can I tell you,
I
I,
worked for McDonald's.
I absolutely did not know what I was paid first in Argos, but I'll think about that.
Right,
Okay, nice.
£2.33 an hour.
Wow. Good. Good place to start. And Adam, what about you?
Well, I wasn't paid, but my family moved from Manchester to Blackpool when I was 10 to get a bed and breakfast. We followed my uncle and auntie on my dad's side. So it was like a McHale clan going to Blackpool. And that was my first job. So I was carrying toast trays or toast racks, cleaning beds, just helping out.
Oh, I love a toast rack.
Me
Just
too.
going cold on the way in.
Just
They
go
always
cold.
got a
Yeah.
test,
Very
doesn't
quickly.
it?
Yeah, you have to get it out.
Are you a butter melted on toast or not melted on toast kind of person?
How would it be not melted on toast?
Yeah.
People
Exactly.
like
Oh,
it
well,
cold.
mind you, if it's gone cold in the rack.
Yeah. It can't be
And then
melted.
you're like trying to...
Just got a bit
I mean,
of-
did
This
you
is-
butter the toast
this-
before it went out?
No, you had the little butter
See?
portions.
The reason
that
I
you
asked,
warm in
you
your
can't, I
hand.
cannot stand toast that has butter that hasn't been melted sitting on top of it. That is foul, but some people like it.
Agreed, yeah.
Anyway, moving on.
So then, Adam, what was your first pay slip job?
First payslip job was the free papers. I don't know if you've had that yet. So I used to get something like £3.50 in a little brown envelope. And used to get about sort of 350 free newspapers to deliver to the local area. But after about 100, I'm sure they're not listening, but after about 100, you would go, should we just put them in the skip? Yeah, just put them in the skip. So you used to get rid of loads of them in the skip. Yeah.
Yeah. And I can tell you, you wouldn't get away with that today because we work with a client that does inside
Leafleting.
worthing. So she does inside worthing, the free paper.
Oh,
so
right.
Leanna, and they have trackers, so they track where they are. So she knows within the basket, so she knows if they've delivered them.
There
Because
is
she's
such
caught people
mistrust
before
that has
where
been
they.
built up from you.
It's
From me. That's your legacy.
It all came from you, Adam.
Your legacy is
It's just how I
trolleys
roll.
that track papers.
Love that.
Wow.
So take us back to those days. So what did it feel like being that, like earning that, getting that first pay slip, having that first foray into the world of work? How did that feel? And also, how did it feel, I guess, knowing that you were something just pop?
Something fell. It's the spirits.
It's the people. It's the
free
people who
paper
own that
spirit.
company.
I've been tracked.
That person looking for the
So
newspaper.
this isn't actually a podcast, it's an
Yeah,
interview
yeah.
from the Free Press.
This is a criminal investigation and we've got you. Adam McHale. So what did that feel like? And also, we've always liked to get into, I guess whenever you're going into the world of work, it's come up a few times where you either, some guests have not necessarily known what part of the queer, known that they were different, but not necessarily known how. Some thought they were straight and were going into that and hadn't come out until much later. But what did it feel like as being a queer person or someone from the community going into that those kind of work, places of work?
Yeah, I think for me, I took a bit longer in my journey. So it was just to kind of have money, being able to do other things. I wasn't from a very wealthy family. So I think, it was always kind of, and also my parents had a B&B. So it was all about working hard and, looking after people. But I remember the job where I really started to earn some serious dollar was when I was a waiter at a hotel in Blackpool. And I just loved it. I absolutely loved it. And I used to have so much. I remember I earned so much money. I bought myself a brown leather bomber style jacket and wore it in the summer.
You
Because
were
I was
all
like,
in.
I owned this jacket and I bought it myself.
Nice.
So yeah, that was probably the moment where I remember, earning money. And even though I wasn't sure on my journey, I remember sort of like little glimmers, little things happening, but probably not ready yet to sort of like share that in that environment. More just kind of go in, earn your money, be nice to people. And buy a jacket.
And
your leather jacket that you were sweating probably as much as we're sweating in this room right now.
Exactly the same.
You've joined us at a heat wave here in Sussex.
And Rick, your first job, were you out in Showcase Cinemas?
I wasn't. So if you think that job, I was 16. I was still at school. I probably spent more time at Showcase Cinemas than I did at school at the time.
Two naughty
let's
boys
make sure
we've got
Mum's
here.
not listening to the podcast now. I remember little things about that. Like I don't remember being straight or gay, or anything like that. And I know growing up I was like a bit. I know I was different to my brothers. Yeah. But that was more of a football related thing. My brother tried desperately to make me play football so many times. Like he needs an award. But like I remember being I'm gonna say now attracted to one of the managers that was there. But I didn't know that was
What it was.
that what it was or what I was
it was just
feeling
like,
about that. It's just
yeah.
like he's really cool.
Yeah.
This is what he's like, kind of thing, and everything like that. And it was the same with one of my PE teachers. I say one of them because I absolutely hated the other one, and he hated me with a vengeance.
I'm not going to talk about that because these people are still alive in my
I don't know
family's
whether
lives.
mine is.
I get what you mean because I think we felt that before as well, where you it's not always just about like, oh, I'm gay or oh, I'm queer, I'm going into this and I'm that. Actually, it's about how other people react to what you think is normal, or whether you think something isn't normal because your brother or your sister or your friend has done something differently. And as I'm the youngest of 5, so I had a lot of experience to kind of look back on to say, oh, that's what they do and what
I'm the
they're
youngest
like.
of 4.
Yeah.
So 2 brothers that are like the
yeah.
next 2
Yeah.
up from me as well.
It's interesting, isn't it? How it manifests, how you.
Yeah, you've always been you, because you showed me that clip yesterday. So there's a clip on social media from Nadia from Big Brother, and she asked her the question, when did you become Nadia? And she was,
Oh, yeah, Victoria Derbyshire does.
yeah,
It's
always Nadia.
Greatest Britain, or it's a podcast that she does anyway. But Nadia, the winner, gorgeous trans winner of Big Brother, isn't it mad to think back to that? A trans woman winning a reality TV
And that
show
was
by
in the
public
early
vote.
2000s.
At that period of
By
time.
public
Yeah.
vote. But also the fact that actually it was so... people...
It was celebrated.
It wasn't
was
discussed in the
celebrated.
way it's discussed now as a debate. And it's...
Because
And Big
people
Brother-
with
yeah.
money are paying for us to be
Yeah.
disgusted
to be
by it.
disgusted by,
Yeah.
exactly, and clutch your
And
pearls.
Big Brother
do
was
the-
at its height at that time.
Yeah.
It was
It was
huge.
like-
It
that
was
was
like
like-
everybody was watching
Yeah.
it.
Was that like series 2 or 3?
Series 2 or 3. It was like
Yeah.
early
Yeah.
2000s.
Early
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
So it was like yeah. Anyway, digress. But yeah, she was saying, yeah, you're right. She was saying that when she was asked the question, when did you first know you were Nadia? And she just says it so beautifully, you know, in that amazing voice she's got. But she sort of just said it, and she said, I don't like I think we need to get the language right around these questions. She didn't say it in a judgy way. She just said, because, you know, I was always Nadia in my heart. Nadia was always in my heart. It was just what everyone else perceived, and then what I perceived myself as. And actually, you are just going through life. And I've spoken about this, about when I was a kid, didn't know what non-binary was, didn't know what I was going to become or what I have the language for now. And so I just bumbled through to kind of, you know, and reacting to how people react to how I was as a kid. But I was just this joyous, like, carefree little kid going through life, and then school, bully. Like, you're this, you're that. It is.
Well, and you get to a point where it's like, keep it in.
Yeah.
Keep it in, keep it in, keep
Don't
it
be
in.
too
and
much.
Don't
It's
be
different levels, yeah.
And things like that. And actually, it's the stuff that you keep in that holds you back.
Festers sometimes as well, yeah.
And there's a lot of people, and especially when you think about, it's different for the generations that are growing up now and things like that. Like
Totally.
growing up in the 80s and 90s, you were just told you were wrong.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. And there was all this fear, and there was all this thing around being gay and about what,
But I think it's also that thing of, you know, it's a very individual journey. So some things you connect with other people, and some things you don't, and you're always just trying to find your own way. But sometimes I think it's that some of those things that would maybe not be as big a thing affect that journey more. I remember somebody. Actually, I was quite young when I was in the hotel. I remember somebody saying to me, "Oh, do you want to come back and watch athletics?" You know, and I was like, "What do you mean, like the sport?" And I think he had a whole different agenda. Yeah, and I was just like,
See, I was quite into athletics. I'd have been a bit disappointed when he was taking my goal.
Why didn't you say yes?
Why is the athletics
But I think,
not on?
yeah, but I think that interesting. I think I was too. But I think that was the moment where I was like, you know, that kind of, who are you on your journey? I was like, should I have said yes, because I don't know whether I'm supposed to explore this or not. And actually, I think that can also lead to very dangerous situations in other, you know. So I think everyone's on this kind of like queer journey, but some of those moments, I remember, you know, whether that was somebody you're close to or somebody you work with, if two footballers, you know, celebrated a goal and snogged. And I remember being, you know, in someone's house and they were like, ugh, and I was like, oh, how does that makes me feel a bit, I'm not sure how I feel about it, but I know I don't like you saying that.
Oh, you mean two gay guys snogged and someone went, ooh,
No,
or it
two
was just
footballers, post-match celebration, like, oggy, oggy, oggy.
On
I don't
the
know if that's what they do,
screen.
but that's what they were
Yeah.
doing. And then they had like a snog because they just celebrated a goal.
Yeah.
And somebody in the
someone
room was like,
reacted.
ugh. And I was like, oof. And I just think those are the little moments that maybe kind of push you back a bit and you go, okay, that's not, for me at the time, it was that this is not the time.
Yeah.
You know, this is not the time to be this.
You
know.
you do, and I think as someone who is other, like whatever, I guess minority, but whenever you're queer and you're kind of within a family scenario or within a friend group or whatever, you're consciously, you're consistently aware of everything that's going on. I feel like we're really well, maybe I can't speak for everyone, but I feel like you're really aware of lots of signals from people because you're constantly looking for that. Are they going to be okay? Like, am I going to be able to be myself? Can I be my full self? You know,
Especially if you get closer to coming out. So
exactly.
And that's, again, that's different for everybody. But if you are heading to that moment where you're like, actually, I think I should come out, so much stuff is going through your head about time and, you know, the people and what order, you know, like, which is just now to me is mad. But I think, you know, at the time it was just all a kind of schedule, you know, it's just like, okay, it's that first and then it's that and then it's that. So yes, any little thing on that, can kind of make you rethink.
And I think, it is that funny. It just made me think about what happened. I remember I told the story. I won't say any names, but when I was working in McDonald's in the early 2000s, I was a manager, and I was friends with this guy. Won't say his name just in case he's listening. But anyway, he was also a manager.
Shout out. Hi, if you're listening.
Hi, if you're listening.
Hi.
He will know the story. But basically, he was
Write
in.
in,
He
tell
was
us
in.
how to
He was in.
Right in.
He was in.
What year is
He was
this?
in McDonald's. It was like
Generation.
early. It was 2001, and he was second assistant manager. I was a second assistant manager. First assistant manager. I was moved to I was moved to another branch, Glengormley or Larne. I can't remember.
Gary's all about the details. I
And
didn't know if you could
Larne.
tell.
No, I was
Maybe
in
leave those
Larne.
out.
He was in
Maybe leave those out,
Carrickfergus. He was
Gary.
in Carrickfergus. And basically what happened was he was going out with one of the shift managers who was female in the McDonald's restaurant, right? But behind the scenes, he was also going out with her younger cousin, right? Who he also worked in this McDonald's restaurant, and they had this big secret thing.
Younger cousin
Then-
who was Emil.
Okay,
Oh.
but what then proceeded to happen was that it all kicked off like really bad. So basically, they went to this family event. He went with the floor manager that they were going out with her,
girlfriend.
but the younger cousin who was like 18, so she was 19, he was 18, and I think this person was 22, then literally announced it to the entire room
The kid.
and was
the
like,
guy
we're
announced it to-
together, and you know, you need to tell the truth, and I want to tell everyone. So that he came out
About
to his
his
entire
cousin?
family, but while this
I
person was
would
there,
watch this TV show.
while,
Russell T Davies, if you need a new script
and
for anything.
no, but listen, it caused so many problems in that
course.
restaurant. It was like
Yeah.
crazy. The dad was in screaming and doing all of that. Then we had to be swapped because he had to be taken out of that because they were going to get the it was not that. We were get the paramilitaries involved.
Mad.
It was crazy. It was like
But
the most craziest thing.
Like, this is why organisations don't like you to
Correct, yeah.
have partners
Yeah.
who work, because it causes these big arguments.
So I was literally got a phone call and they were like, "We need to swap. We know you will swap." And I said, "But there'll be two fish assistant managers there, not." He was like, "We just need to. It needs to happen." Then when I arrived, that was like the talk of that whole entire restaurant. And they had to move her to another store. It was just, it was
Wow.
crazy. It was crazy, but it was a big, and it made me. I don't know why that made me think about that, but the whole thing, because then I wasn't out, so it made me think about that, and everybody was like so disgusted by it. Like if I think
Yeah,
back
and that
to that.
pushes you back in that bit further.
I
doesn't
remember
it?
people like
Yeah.
the way people were talking about it, the staff were talking about it, people were saying how disgusting it was, and yeah, that was, and I just don't know why that came into it. And it is horrible,
Yeah.
right? And I felt really sorry for him. I met up with him afterwards and had, you know, because he was like in a really bad place. It was just kind of not a great thing.
It's also quite a nice segue into the fact that you two are in the lovely world of people, learning and development.
Exactly.
Well done,
Exactly.
Gary.
Yeah, well, you know.
Well, how would you deal with that scenario?
So what I think we should do is probably sit down.
But yeah, we should have a conversation first.
So yeah, so what happened then with Showcase? So where did you go from Showcase to kind of into
So
the people world?
yeah, so I had a few, like, you know, like the part-time jobs. I went to university and different things like that. I worked at B&Q for a while. B&Q is a very I name all these environments based on my experience, and it was definitely back then. It's a very DIY environment, which back then was like blokey and things like that.
Yeah.
I had a great time at B&Q though, and I think I was just one of those, I'm oblivious to what people are saying around me, and if you say it, say it. At least you're talking about me.
I love it.
I went to university and I studied art. I'd originally wanted to be a fashion designer. I got a place I got a place at Central St Martin's saying that I could do fashion design and technology, but they wanted me to do a foundation course before, so they gave me a place, but I had a year later. And doing the foundation course, I completely changed my mind, and then went and studied the history of art and contemporary art, and then completely changed my mind again. When I went into that, I was like, I'm going to be the curator of the National Museum. First job out of uni, that's what I'll get. Like, and then like while I was doing my course, I was like, yeah, I'm not into that anymore. And I got really into the psychology of everything. So then after university, I did a master's in psychology and applied psychology to adult development.
Love that.
And then I went, this is this world that I love. And
Brilliant.
I got a job. Really interestingly, I went to Australia. I went backpacking, went to Australia,
Nice.
and I was just going to backpack, not work, and come back.
Did you have a gap year? Was it a gap year
Well,
before
it was
gap
supposed
years?
to be a gap. I can't say it like that. Gap 3 months. Gap year, I can say, but I was supposed
Gap
to have
few
a
months.
gap few months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And stayed about 2 years.
Did you?
I just stayed away. And I
never
got
did
a
that.
job in Sydney with this new company that are like quite new to Sydney. They were breaking the market called Vodafone. And so they were just launching in Australia at this point in time. They had the head office in Sydney, and I did all of their kind of customer service, call center, kind of training for them.
Amazing.
And I've been in training, learning, and development since and never looked back.
So Vodafone, so that was obviously the UK company had gone to Australia.
Yeah.
Oh wow! And then did you come back with them?
No. So I worked for them like on and off in the time period. The visas that you get, you can only work for in a job for like 3 months. I don't know whether it's the same now. This is 26 years ago, right?
You're only
I don't-
21. How does that work?
Yeah, I know.
I know.
Yeah. I'm a high achiever.
And a time traveler.
Yeah. So and that was like me getting into that side of it, and then like the career off the back of that. Like when I came back, I went into a job specifically looking for something that was around that, and worked my way up through.
Amazing. And in that whole time, never a feeling of your identity, your sexuality being an issue or being anything.
There's been times. It's interesting. I think there's a big difference between when I was like corporate, when I was head of learning and development in an organisation, and after that, I purposely decided to set up my own consultancy. And there's been loads of different things because you get the internalized homophobia. And there's so many things that I've learned that came out of that as well. But then I've had it working with clients. Like I once had a client when I was talking who said, why would someone like you be able to do this? So bearing in mind, when I was looking at this guy, there was a lot of differences between us. Like, so he was an Indian man, 5 times the size of me, like, and things like that. And he was like the CEO of this business, and I was like a white man, a gay man, and he was straight and things like this. And it took me a while, and he implied it again. And I turned around and said, I really don't think that my sexuality has got anything to do with how I can support your leadership development. And he was like, oh, well, blah, blah, blah. I said something else. And I turned around and said, let's just have a conversation about the fact that you've said that in front of a group of people that work for you. And how do you think their impression of you is in this situation?
Absolutely.
And he was a bit like, I'm the CEO.
Absolutely. And that's why it's so important. We've talked about that before. It's so important as a leader. We talked with Richard and Rachel, but as a leader to set an example of what the expectations are. And it's so horrendous.
Adam, your journey from
Gary.
From your restaurant days.
working as a waitress, a waiter
In a cocktail bar.
in a cocktail bar, in a restaurant,
much is
to
true.
into people. So how did you get there? What was your journey?
How
to
long
that?
is the podcast?
Well, we said 4 hours.
Is
didn't
it
we?
4
hours,
hours?
yeah.
Okay,
We're into
ignore
our
the
I think
talk.
we might help.
We've
Yeah.
got no chance.
we
In
might
my
have
hours,
to
and I've only got
Yeah.
past my childhood.
Where did we get? Yes, we were at the hotel with me. So
Your first paid job, waiter.
Yeah,
you were
yeah,
loving
yeah.
it.
Did you go to
bought a
university?
bomber jacket.
I bought a bomber jacket. I took
Leather?
it- leather, brown
yeah.
leather, yeah.
Yeah.
I took it with me to university. So I went to university, studied performing arts. Interesting. And I absolutely hated the course, but I met some amazing people. Loved living in London. And I had a sort of like desire to be an actor, but wasn't 100% sure. So then I went back home for a year, took a gap year, but I just worked in it. So I worked at the O2 shop selling, mobile phones.
Oh my God, look at the connections
Yeah,
between
right?
you two. eh?
Manchester, mobile phones.
So I sold those. I don't know if I was very good at it, but I liked it. But I also worked at the Sea Life Centre in Blackpool, so I used to do like little talks on the sharks, and used to get furious because I'd be holding the mic and no one would be listening, and I'd be like tapping the mic, like trying to get people to look.
Nothing like a cherry bomb gig then.
Completely the opposite. Yeah. Yes. So I did a bit of part-time stuff. Then I was like, no, I have to give the acting a go. I have to do it. So I did. And then I did acting for sort of 5-ish years. But I did a lot of theatre and education, which is sort of in lots of different ways. It's schools, it's colleges, but it's also sort of working with corporate businesses sometimes, going in, and you would play out a scene. So like that scene, you would play that out, and you would say, anyone recognise anybody in this scene? And people would be really nervous, but you'd obviously have a brief and everything beforehand. But there was a lot of kind of facilitation, workshop leading, holding the space. And so I had this kind of like, I get to perform a little bit, but it also has a sort of purpose underneath it, which is that they would love to learn something, would love to take something away. But I was kind of acting at the same time and still pursuing that. And then I moved to Brighton, moved in with one of my really good friends in Brighton. And just was having the best time, and I was like, need some money to just party and have a lovely time in Brighton. And then I worked at Bello Italia as a restaurant supervisor there, which I loved. It was such hard work, but was like amazing. And just had cash to kind of go and party. And then I got a job at my hotel, and my hotel was probably the job that made me go, okay, you can feel valued somewhere else. And always with acting, I was always like, I just don't know if does anyone really care? You have to sort of have this self-determination, like, self-grit more than anything else to kind of keep going to those auditions. And I had a bit of that, but maybe not enough. And so as soon as I just felt so valued in this company, I had a HR guru who still is one of the most extraordinary people I've ever worked with in my life, called Mary. And Mary studied astrology and law. And could combine, could combine both of those in how she led our kind of world in terms of a people perspective. So she was my first sort of like HR kind of inspo, I think. And then I moved through like hospitality management jobs. So I was a reception manager and kind of moved through various different leadership roles. And I always thought I would go on this leadership journey. But then when I worked at the Theatre Royal in Brighton as part of the Ambassador Theatre Group, we had a sort of customer service training program, and we kind of rolled it out to the venues. And in Brighton, we were the leading venue, so we had the sort of highest scores, best delivery, yada yada yada, and I was in charge of that. So there was a role that was kind of talked about, and then it came up in head office, and then I went to do that. So I think as a leader, the people side, the numbers are important. That's how business works. But for me, it was like, but who cares if your people aren't behind you? I always talk about, will they get in your boat? If you're sailing off from the shore, they're in your boat. And I loved always stuff like that, because I was just like, I find that sort of stuff inspiring. And I think, so I always loved that people side of the leadership role and of my manager roles. But as soon as I stepped into L&D, I don't know if you felt this, it has this like magic to it. You're like, I get to like do these lovely things with people, and they get to learn, and they get to maybe think differently, and one or two things kind of impact their behavior and helps them to do something differently. Then I think that's what it's all about. So
absolutely.
It's funny. Funny, like you talk about, are they in your boat? People always talk about these vehicles. Mine was a train, so I was called the GS Express everywhere I went in the bank. I mean, are you on board the GS Express? Right? Because if you're not on my train, we're stopping at the station, and you're getting off. You're getting the bus out of here, right? Because this is where we're going.
Can I just say?
This is the destination.
Can I just say? I think Adam's metaphor was a lot lovelier. Are you on my boat sailing out into the sea? Gary's like, are you on the train? The train's leaving. The
train's leaving the station. No, but in a nice way. It was always, and that's what I love about people. And I work with people. I've done all the teams. It is that. It's getting them on board with it. I got people up at 6 a.m. in the morning to go and like sell current accounts, right? Which nobody could do. But it is about people. The people thing is really important. It's not about targets. If you can engage with them and get them to really buy into it.
Everything's done by people.
It's you you've won.
Well, I think it's
Yeah.
about both. I think you've got to be clear.
Yeah.
You know, if,
Oh, yeah,
if
clear
there's
with
a,
target, yeah.
if somebody asks me to think about a learning, you know, intervention or something, I'm like, okay, what do you want? You know, what's the outcome you want? So I think you still have to think about those things, but it's, you know, who is that group of people and how do you make them feel safe? You know, because I think making people feel safe is really when the magic comes. The more safe you are to truly be yourself, and whatever that means, then I think that's where people find their
So
sweet spot.
true, isn't it? That's come up time and time again. Like the I think all of these discussions as well that happen around D&I and like what they, you know, people have been so quick to ditch it, or big organizations have, and then it gets into the like kind of people talking about it and going, oh well, is it not important or is it not needed? And of course it's fucking needed. And that the reason, as you say so well there, is it's until everyone is able to be safe and free to be themselves, their full selves, you're not going to have engaged teams. You're going to have people who are going to want to contribute.
Right.
And it's also why I think, as well as that, I also think representation matters.
Absolutely.
As I was thinking about coming today, I remember a story. I used to work at Butlins as their
Shout out
L&T. Yeah,
Butlins.
shout out Butlins. Beautiful people that I
got
worked there
knocked
with.
from Butlins.
Did you?
So I went to a beef
It
and
was
danced on
Adam
the
that did
podium
it.
for a season instead.
It was Adam that rejected
Did Adam
you.
get the job? Was that you?
We were like, we can only take one northerner.
one northern guy at a time, please.
We can only have one camp
Tick, tick,
northerner
tick.
in.
That is funny.
And he's
it's
in
true.
before you.
I was going to say, I think, as well as that, I think representation, though, is also important. And at Butlins, it was like a Christmas party. And it was quite early on in the evening. And I was just chatting to a lovely colleague of mine. And this couple, they were a gay couple, and they worked together a few years there. And one of the guys had got really upset. And it was almost like his partner had brought him to me. And I knew them really well, and so, you know, it was a fairly kind of easy conversation, but it totally threw me because they said, we can't tell you what it means to have somebody like you just be themselves and be a leader in this business.
Wow.
And I was like, what are you talking? I literally was like oblivious. I was like, what do you mean? You know, and they were like, well, you're a gay man, you're being yourself, you sometimes talk about your partner, or you talk about your outside life, and that is such a thing for us because we feel like we don't always see that, and it's had this kind of moment for them of going, carry on in your leadership career. I love that. And it stayed. I mean, it was a moment of like, ugh, but also like stayed with me ever since. Just that the representation is important. It is, you know, it's why you have to provide that safe space so that people can fully be themselves and lift them up, and you know, and that kind of it's so important to me.
I've got an interesting story. It was very similar to this. And so I worked in a logistics business for years. That's when I was a head of learning and development.
Yeah.
And so they've got like branches all across the country and everything like that. And it's quite a macho environment and things like that. It's very heavily male dominated. And one of the regional directors, am I allowed to swear about people?
You can swear, yes. We have an explicit she can swear.
Yeah, so he was, I'm not even going to swear now. Cause
I don't have a swear word bad enough.
You're filtering.
I'm filtering myself.
He was a
right.
bad
But
swear word.
He was an old school homophobic guy and everything, but he didn't think that he was, and he used to drop comments like he'd call me teapot and things like that, but with venom, like, and you'd just be like, and he'd do it like in the ops office in front of all the people that work there, which are the people that I work with, and I go around the country seeing all these different people.
Yeah.
And whenever he did it, I'd handle it. I mean, one, I was quite thick-skinned, and it doesn't matter about your sexuality or whatever you are. Like, working in an industry like that, you need to be quite thick-skinned. And I would handle it. Like, I'd get him on his own, and I'd say, it's not on that you talk to me like that, and if you carry on, I'll do something about it. And in his head, he was like, oh, you're macho, you're going to do something about it. And I was like, I'm from Manchester, I'll kick your head in.
I'll kick your head in, love. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. But, it was what it was, and I told him, and then we'd go a few months, and then he'd do it again, and then I'd have to tell him again. Right? And that's that. years later, I am checking in to a Premier Inn in Bristol. And as I'm checking in, there's another guy checking in, and he goes, "You're Ric Hayden?" I'm like, "I am." And I'm like, the amount of people that you meet when you're running training courses, it's going through my head. Where's your face? Where's your face? Where's your face? Thousands of people I'm filtering through. And he said, I can see you trying to think of where you met me. He said, I used to work at the place with you. And I was like, oh, right. He was in whatever office. And I was like, right, I can place you now. I can totally see there. How you doing? How's life? What's it been like for you? And he was obviously very comfortable with his sexuality, straight man. Yeah, he's got a wife, he's got kids, and he was telling me about his wife and kids and all these different things. And I said, oh, right. And then I'd said to him, oh, did you like leave before or after me? And he was like, oh, no, I left before you. I left because of you. And I'm like, what? What have I done?
Yeah.
And he turned around and he said, well, not directly because of you. He said, but I used to see the way that one of our senior directors treated you, and I could not work in an environment where that was allowed.
No, it was that guy.
And I was like, I'm thinking about representation for me, right? And I'm thinking about the way that I was dealing with that was not to publicly deal with it. I'd take him aside and do it. And he was like, it was unfair that you were bullied, and I am not staying in that environment. And he's left and he's gone off, and he's like this senior director in this other business, and that business is massively growing. Business that I worked in shut down 3 years after I left. And when you think about it, it's like it's not that one thing that did it, but there's a lot of things. There's a culture, there's the thing. And we were for years changing the culture of that organisation. And as soon as the people that aren't fighting to change a culture, it just disappears.
It's so true.
It's very interesting because going back to my co-op bank days, the co-op when I started there, that was the first job where I felt where I was really comfortable, where I performed. I went across the country because the co-op is all about the values, everything. They had, the LGBTQ community, all of that. They just were an amazing, because obviously they're cooperative. And then we merged with Britannia, which was a sleepy building society, right? But we brought people across from that, and some of the people won't say that. I was just like, this is great. Like they work in the same place as us, but their values and their culture was completely different. How they treated, there was a very, very, very straight white male kind of people in there, people that were just with attitudes. Whereas the co-op was kind of, I don't know, really different. There was lots of like Lucy, lots of all of these amazing area managers, regional managers. It was very mixed. There was lots of queer people, lots of women. The co-op was never kind of a heavily, which was weird. But I never really thought about it. I was just talking about this on the podcast of how my career really flourished. It was in the co-op because obviously that was the place I felt most comfortable. And I went around, and everybody was like just so welcoming. It was really kind of this. And then when we brought Britannia in, and some of the stories it was horrific. Some of the one guy that came in from Britannia, who was a regional guy, had said something to, something to the lovely, our lovely assistant manager, man. Go make me a cup of tea. That's why women have smaller feet so they can stand closer to the kitchen.
Sink.
Yeah,
isn't that gross?
And I was just like.
This angry little man.
Yeah.
Actually, when we met, so whenever...
We kind of talked about him.
Me and Gary met with Rick before. I didn't tell you this.
But I won't say who it is, because I do have people from the co-op.
I know. But we met before and we spoke about this, and we were like, we came to the conclusion after our chat that we should write a book called Angry Men. Angry Men and how they ruin things.
Yeah. It was really,
But also, just to go back, because that's a really important point that you made about the fact that directly impacts the success of a company. So if you're simply looking at those kind of things from a monetary point of view, or from a success, how do you measure success, but from a corporate point of view of what is right, what is wrong, what is good for business, of course it is culture. It's about making people feel free, seen, able to, because that then has an absolute impact on your bottom line and also your ability to survive, because that company, like you said, went under, and due to lots of cuts by many,
loads of different reasons, but it's that culture of what was taking place. There's a big thing that I say on all kinds of training courses, but especially on leadership and management courses. And I think it comes from a general in the Australian Army. And it's the standard you walk past is the standard you accept. And it goes into
Everything, yeah.
doesn't it? And it's, but like for that guy, he would not accept
No.
seeing someone being bullied by a senior leader in a business.
And equally, the person who was being homophobic or treating you in that way didn't have anyone keeping him to account for what that was happening.
Yeah.
But that we read a book actually whenever we went to a lovely little off-grid retreat, and you started reading it, The Good to Great. Have you read Good to Great? The businesses that go from good to great. And
Have you read that?
It's an analysis from like the 90s.
90s,
The book
yeah,
is
so-
published in the 90s. But he basically had a team of researchers investigate why these brands and not those brands, why this business and not that business. It's
And
very
not-
heavily American.
Yeah,
led.
heavily American, but a lot of the brands you don't know of, and they still exist today, but
Yeah.
where the company is just totally amazing. So some of the bigger brands where they go up and down, these companies have been consistent.
Yeah, it defines it based
It's
on consistent
all
growth.
about
It's
the
not
people.
just, the measure of success is consistent growth, how the happiness of the employees, and they analyzed every part of it. And it was a huge part of it was who the leadership is, how they stay involved with the company during the progression of the business, how they instill those values beyond their leaving of the company, and how the people operate. And it's so
Well,
true.
I think it's that thing around, when you were talking then, Gary, there's that interesting thing around being allowed, supported, encouraged, and represented so that you really can be yourself. But what's really interesting is when you're not, people don't trust you as much. So actually, it can affect your career journey and actually the roles that you choose, because you don't feel like you can be totally authentic, and then people are like, oh, I'm not sure that you're really showing up here. So it's actually has a kind of double impact in this kind of, how do you build that culture? So and it's challenging, right? You've got to face into some of your own inbuilt bias and all that, because you've got to face into that's just who we are, and that's how humans work. But I think that, I think I certainly felt that, moment of, am I holding myself back? And it's when I look back, it's not, I don't feel like that now, but I knew that I wasn't fully talking about who I was and what I would do when I'd leave work.
Yeah.
Same.
But and I see it in, like, say, some of the workshops that I'll run is I don't walk into a room and go, gay. I mean, there are a few things that give it away.
Listen, sister,
It's not
I'm going
that
to try it. I'm
hidden.
going to try it next week.
Right? Like, it pulls me around.
Yeah.
But my language will be slightly different when I get started. I know recently I was running a 2-day event. I have a cohort of managers in this construction company. We're on like cohort 27 now. It's been this really successful management development program.
Amazing.
It's brilliant because I run it. No, but,
Gay.
but I feel I can work out the culture of the group and how the group are coming together as to when my language changes. So I'll be like, my partner or this. And especially the first workshop we do, insights discovery, so like psychometrics and communication and things like that. So it's really easy to give examples to people, and we're like, oh, me and my partner are complete opposites, and this is how we work and things like that. And I always try and figure, like, when have I got to the comfortable point of saying, like, Chris or boyfriend, or boyfriend sounds a bit weird at this age, but
It is interesting how you judge people in the walking because the first time I met you was just recently, a few months ago, when I came to do that thing at Plus X. And I never really thought about it. I didn't think, oh, you were gay or whatever. I never thought about it. But obviously I came to do that event and I really didn't think about it. And then it was Sarah May introduced us through that, and it was just kind of that whole thing. Oh, okay, because you guys should be connected, and it was just kind of.
Can I just say, Sarah May's mind is going to be blown right now that she just got to mention our biggest fan. Just got to mention number one fan just got mentioned on something.
and
Shout
her
out Sarah May.
people on the podcast.
So funny story. Sarah May introduced us to the lovely Rick after you were stranded on you were on a train from Edinburgh or something together.
No. She got stranded like before.
Okay.
We were in Glasgow and we were judges on an Employee of the Year award. And we were kind of like in it together. And also there's like a black tie dinner, and I was just like, it's nice going to a black tie dinner for about the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then you're like, no, it's a little black tie. Yeah. So we bonded
Busy
really quickly
mates.
and became busy mates.
Love it.
and Sarah introduced us for you for the podcast, which was just kind of like, this is kind of like, oh, how does that work?
She does take notes during the podcast.
She does
as well.
take notes during the podcast. So we give you a mention. Thank you for the guest.
Oh, I'm expecting feedback.
Thank you for the guest. Yeah. Thank you for the guest.
Yeah.
So thanks to Sarah for the guest introduction. That's why Sarah connected us forward to do. We're looking for guests.
And also shout out to our Vietnamese listeners, because we do have Vietnamese listeners.
Yeah.
Subscribers,
People love
avid
Vietnam.
subscribers.
And Norway and Sweden.
Nice.
Hello, Sweden.
Give us a little comment.
Yeah.
We love
We
you.
are more than happy to come and
We can travel. We can travel. Yeah.
Actually,
if you'd like
Don't
us
get
there.
too far.
France, we do have the most listeners in terms of Europe and outside of the UK.
Bonjour, France. So take us back a little bit, Adam, on your career. We talked a bit about where you went and what that meant. What do you have any career highs and any lows that you can think of that have brought you? Because you're obviously at the fabulous MPB now, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I've mentioned around my hotel, and that was a pretty kind of pivotal role. But I think sometimes for me, I think in L&D, you sort of I'm often been the first person that starts. So, I was the first L&D manager at Butlins, or I was the first person at Classic Collection Holidays. So I'm often kind of creating this team or this department from scratch. So actually, one of the things that I think is the joy is when other people come into that world. And I'm so proud of the glorious people that I've worked with. And that's, some of those, in fact, most of them are carrying on their, L&D career. So, I think that's the thing across, all of the roles, because it's really challenging. And I think when you first start it, you're trying to manage expectation and what do people want you to do. But as soon as you get a little glimpse, that people have kind of recognized it and hopefully, you've delivered, and other people get to come and join you on this journey. So I think for me, it's more around my gorgeous colleague, Charlotte, my amazing colleague, Mo, Harriet. I worked with an amazing person called Angela at Classic Collection, who was internal comms, and we started together and we just went on this wacky ride, and just got to do things like create company values, and it was just this amazing stuff. So yeah, for me, I think I don't necessarily feel like that. I feel like you kind of have people that you remember, and I'm very fortunate. Even my first boss at my hotel, I renewed her vows, in the south of France last year. Yeah. So, I just believe that's what's special, I think. And I don't know if L&D helps that. I feel like it sort of does. It feels like it's a very welcoming space. By the nature of what you do, you're trying to be inclusive and welcome people.
It's true, but it's not only that. Like, I remember just when you were talking about that, it made me, recall my days of whenever I got amazing job in Savile Row, and I was given the opportunity to build a team out where we had, I went in a much more senior position than I had left Burberry in, because it was a smaller business. But I remember going in there, and my boss, Rami, shout out to Rami, was a phenomenal woman, was so switched, so laser focused on business and all of the kind of merchandising side of business, and wanted to build the product team, wanted the product side, the collection side, and that was all my experience. So we had lovely merchandiser there, Sarah, but I got the opportunity to build a team, and it's exactly what you were saying. Seeing people who come into that and build that thing that had never existed in the company is such an amazing thing, because you're teaching that, aren't you? You're showing what it can be whenever you do those kind of things.
And I think in terms of, I was just thinking about the lows. I think not necessarily. I think I'm generally okay with finding a moment when you go, time to go, and there's no kind of. Not always, doesn't need to be like, bad blood or anything. It's just time to go. It's time to find your joy somewhere else. But I remember asking a quite senior leader in one of the places I worked in. I was asked to work on a central project, I was in a sort of locally based role, and I was asked to work on a central project, which was super exciting. I was like, this is amazing. Get to, and I designed something. It all got lots of amazing feedback. Everyone was really excited to do it. And then just gradually, I felt a couple of people, just the support just waned. It just got less and less and less and less. But that wasn't what I was. That wasn't really what the direction was. They'd been asked to support me, so I went to the senior leader at the time and said, "They're not supporting the project, and you've asked me to work on it." And they sort of basically said, "Work it out." And I was like,
We're gonna.
Oh, it's time to go.
Yeah.
That's what I've worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Not because I don't mind. I absolutely don't mind. It happens so many
challenge,
times
yeah.
that you're challenged and you're like, it's really good for you. You know, another leader once said you always have to have about 30% stretch in any role you're in, which literally sometimes feels like it, but it's really good. So it's not the challenge, it's not the stretch. It was, I knew that the support wasn't there for this thing that I designed and created, and I thought, yeah, that's time to go. So that's the only kind of moment where I really felt that kind of, you know,
And that might be a culture thing as well, where those people that you were designing that didn't agree with it, right? You know, where they just
it was a
are
legacy.
Up against
It was a legacy program. People loved it. You know, it hadn't been changed for a long time.
Yeah.
And I was like, why not change it? You know, in the words of Sheryl Crow, I changed it. Are you good? It's fine. It's fine. Hopefully hopefully the listeners pick up on it. But
Sheryl Crow, I've seen a
We'll
lot.
cut away to the song now. I said a change, a change. Right.
yeah, you know, so yeah, it's just, you know, they weren't, I just thought it could have absolutely been changed. And also that's what I've been asked to do. But I think, yeah, maybe there was something about that people didn't understand it. But I also think that's something about that journey that you're on to sort of know, have faith in your ideas, have faith in what you've created or designed, you know, and I think that is absolutely linked to knowing who you are.
I was just going to say exactly that. Whenever you have and I think that is, it's not just a queer thing. I mean, we link,
No.
I've said it before, but you do forge your own path when you know you're different from other people. And that, I think, gives us the superpower in those situations to go, well, I do see that we can do this differently because the rules are either broken or they don't serve the people there anymore. And I think there's a unique way of thinking about that you can push forward with that in a way that maybe is difficult for some other people. What about you, Rick? Tell us about your career highs. Well, actually, LearningCog. When did LearningCog come about, and what gave you that impetus? What was the leap to start your own business?
So my career low created a career high, and then made me move into setting LearningCog up my business. So my career low was I was head of learning and development in this big organisation, and I was presenting to the board this development programme that was needed. We had done so much research in that organisation. So, like, we were like, this is going to be amazing. And they were like, yeah, it's not for us. And I was like, a bit devastated. And then they gave me the reasons. And then I agreed with them. And I was like, I walked out of that room and I was like, what have you just done? And then I was like, I've become completely institutionalized by this organisation, and I'm now thinking in the way that they think, and that needs to stop. And I went right back in. So that was my career low. I agreed with what they said. I went right back in and I said, I don't think I've explained this well enough to you to get you on board. So I'm going to take a step back and I'm going to, like, blah, blah, blah. And I kind of got some agreement. I think they just wanted me out the room. Right. And then afterwards, I just forged ahead with the plan, and we delivered that leadership development program to the organisation and won awards for what we did. So that was like, right. But from that moment of walking out the boardroom the first time, I was like, I'm on a countdown now because I'm not staying here. I'm going to do this because I'm so passionate about this thing. And then there was like these restructures that were taking place, and I just pushed myself in a direction where I was not going to be part of the restructure.
Oh, yeah.
And in doing that, I was like, oh, what should I do? And I was interviewing at a few different companies to get the same job again. Yeah. And I went, don't want any of this. And then I said, all right, I'm going to set my own business up and I'm going to be a consultant. I'm going to go and do this thing. And I've got an absolutely amazing partner, and he is brilliant. And he was just like, see what happens.
Love that.
So we did it. And then
Shout out to supportive partners out there.
And then so that program that we delivered was that I spent my last couple of months. I mean, I did nothing because nothing was coming across my desk. I spent my last couple of months, like kind of serving out my notice, redesigning that for another part of the company, and they were going to be delivering it across Southeast Asia. So there was like 9 countries. Wow. And all of the leadership teams from the whole of that area were going on it. And just before I finished, the HR director who I was handing it all over to say, like, this is everything that you've got, I've done as much as I can for you, said, do you know any facilitators that will come and travel across Asia delivering it in English to the market? And I'm like, yeah, I do know of one.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, happens to be me.
so I was like, I'm getting on a plane. And so they became my first client. And I did that. And I was like, this is great being a consultant. I get to go to all of these different countries. Like, I went to loads of great cities, Kuala Lumpur, Singapore, Hong Kong. I was traveling all around doing all of these different things. And what was supposed to be a 3-month contract turned into a 9-month contract. So having an amazing supportive partner who never sees you. Like, I'd go away for 3 weeks and come back for a week, and then go away for 3 weeks and come back for a week. So, and
What
so
a start,
that
though.
was LearningCog. That was like,
When was that? What year was that?
it was 15 years ago. So it was
wow.
2011.
Wow.
Amazing. Amazing. Just when you say that, and it is, do you know, I think people underestimate, or I don't know if they do, but you cannot underestimate the importance of someone in your corner when you're going through a career change, starting your own business, a life change, like having someone there to support you on whatever that decision. Because, you know, a similar thing happened with me and Gary whenever I was offered in Burberry. I was offered a secondment out to Hong Kong to look after the Asia Pacific business. So they had a massive business out there. And it was a bit disconnected from the London office and creative direction, that kind of stuff. And I went out there. I first got asked about it. I came home and me and Gary had just moved to Brighton. Like, I just moved into our flat in Brighton, settled down and got our Frenchie, got our bulldog. And I was like, so I've been offered this ridiculous role and I'm obviously not going to do it. But the fact that Gary just went, listen, this is huge and this is huge for you. Like, do it. Like, having someone like that instead of, you know, you can't do that. You know what I mean? Like, the
And it was 6 months. We're like, it's going to be 6 months. And I was like,
it was going to be 6 months.
Yeah, it's experience.
It's like, I mean, it's over like that, isn't it? Like, for me, I look at the 9 months that I was traveling and I was like, that happened in no time for me. Sure, it was probably a lot longer for Chris.
But it was actually 18 months in the end. But
Ours was
I've been
18
doing it
months.
for 15 years and it's what? No. But
it is that. It's about having, it is that. It's
and then
amazing.
The flip of that is when I went to start GoSucceed, I was a bit like you, where I had enough of, like, you know, all of being in the corporate world, just always that battle in my head, and it's like, I want to do something for myself. Johnny was like, just do it, because it was really scary for me, because I wasn't made redundant. No, I literally decided to resign.
But you'd also not been out of work as an employee, as a person.
No, I'd never been out of
since
work.
you were 15.
So and I remember handing back my laptop and my keys, and it was just driving down the M40 from our head office. I was like, what am I doing?
Well, but the thing is, it's like there's a big mindset thing that comes into it, isn't there? Because, you know, you've worked from that moment in time when you were first able to do, like, even if it was like the paper round when I was 13, it was a bit of cash in the pocket. And then you get to a point of going, I don't have a job. And I expect one of the big things that I had to deal with, and I think it was probably for the first year, but definitely in that first 6 months, was in my head I was unemployed. And I was setting this organisation up, and I was travelling around Southeast Asia delivering this huge leadership programme. But I was like, but I'm unemployed.
It's how you're told, isn't it? It's how you're told to behave. That's that kind of thing.
It is,
Yeah.
But then I suppose that's, you know, when I was in the acting days, it doesn't matter what job you're in, you're always thinking about the next one.
Yeah.
It's not enough, you know, because you're always like, I've got my
they're all
bills,
kind of-
I've got my... And I just flipped it the other way round. But I also think it's that thing around when you then work for, you know, the business or where I work now, MPB is... there's something about the freedom, you know, and when a company allows you to, you know, create and be free and, you know, and give it your best in terms of role. I think that's what kind of keeps it exciting and keeps that kind of freedom in perhaps what might be deemed as a more corporate structure, even though it really isn't like that. And the international travel there for me feels such a lovely connection to the other teams that I just happen to support their learning too.
Right.
So
I was going to say,
it's-
because we've been friends for a long time, and you're so lit up talking about the role that you do, the things you create, and you're exactly right. They support you with that freedom to build that, and you get to travel in Berlin constantly. This guy,
But it's
I mean,
true.
not
and New York,
sustainably.
New York, and where else?
in Brooklyn, yeah.
and
Yeah,
Brooklyn.
yeah. I mean, it's and the it looks like a sort of wish list of amazing cities. Doesn't
Really
it? It's
does.
like but it's also about where our customers are, where our communities are. Where are we trying to kind of reach? But it's a very kind of cool, progressive, and we started in Brighton. Our CEO and our founder is still, Matt is still kind of leading the business. And it feels, if you sort of meet the team, they feel like a very Brighton team. Like, we don't all live there, but feels like very kind of, emblematic of that. But also in the other two places, also, they are the same. They feel like beautiful representations of the people in the community there. So, very cool.
Nice. And what is MPB? Just talking about MPB, what does it feel like in terms of? Because in another episode we talked to Paula about. She works for an organization, and she very much feels that support of it's not just Pride for a month, or it's not just Pride for. And we spoke before about the fact that there is that support, there is that feeling throughout the company, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, our D&I kind of metrics or targets, I suppose more targets really, are set at board level, so it's not just a sort of add-on, it's absolutely, part of the fabric of who we are. I think it's something in the region of, 1 in 3 people say that they are not heterosexual. And I think that, that's a very cool and kind of speaks hopefully to that people, I'm sure there's still work to do, that people feel included, people feel that they're able to be themselves because you're seeing other people. We went to and I also feel that's part of the senior team. I feel very lucky, very blessed to be in a senior role. And I work with the most talented group of people. And there's a bit of, there is also this kind of joy when you see perhaps what you might see and know as a queer person, and you're like, okay, and an example of that is we went to a dinner at one of our offsites, and myself and one of my lovely colleagues were sat there, and a Panna Cotta arrived, and this is no joke. The Panna Cotta was shaped like a penis. And
where was this?
An offsite. And my lovely colleague who's a lesbian was like, well, it's no use to me. I was just like, I just couldn't stop, and we were just laughing hard. And we laugh like that all the time. But I think, there's something about kinship, right? That, it's not just about working with people that are like you, but there is definitely something about a company almost being who they say they want to be. Yeah. And so, I work with, lots of beautiful people, but there are those moments when you're like, okay, maybe I'm not the only one, and that's quite a powerful thing. And I think that, we see that we commit to sort of, in our marketing campaigns, 60% of what we do is featuring underrepresented groups, 10% of that is LGBTQ. So it's, it's in all the things we do. And I think that is one of the reasons why it's, very challenging, very dynamic, very successful business. But yeah, is a very welcoming place to be.
I love that. You just made me think there of the that thing of representation, of feeling comfort and being actively like that, where it's ingrained. Helen Wemberley shared Oslo Pride's video. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's incredible, where it's these people just moving through the city doing different things, but like a guy is sitting on a train, and he's or a person is sitting on the train with their legs crossed, and then corrects themselves when they see this sort of shaved-headed guy come in a black jacket and sit down, and then the guy lifts out his phone to take a call, and he's wearing like a little rainbow wristband, and it's the Oslo wristband for Pride. And then there's another scenario where a lesbian couple are getting into a taxi, and then they part hands and get into the taxi and sit apart, and then they see that the taxi driver's looks, I guess it's done in a way where the taxi driver is like a man and he's looking a bit angrily into the thing. Then it pans out and they see that he's got a little Pride logo sticker on the front of the cab, and then they relax and hold hands and he smiles and they start talking. It's that thing, those little indicators, when you know you're in a company where you're held and you're supported, I guess in anything, it can really change things, can't it?
Yeah, and I think it's how you approach that in lots of different ways. And we had a recent drag bingo, and we had it in all three markets. So we had the same opportunity for people to get involved, and also supported a local artist. So I think there's also lots and different ways to do that, but leaning into the culture that and the community, I suppose, that surrounds you, I think is also a way to go. Yes, we are kind of living our values with being.
Yeah. I guess we've talked loads about how L&D helps people and helps people become themselves and stuff. We've asked other people with their industries what needs to change and what does it look like right now and what needs to change, if anything. What do you have anything that you think needs to change within the industry, or from an L&D perspective, what needs to change in general in corporate or in your outlook, what you've seen, Rick?
I think we're living in a massive changing time at the moment. And there's a lot of very directed negativity towards certain people and certain types of people. So I think being gay in a business is old school now. Like we've had our day kind of thing, and to the point where actually it's a really weird thing to have to come out. And that's great. Like, why would we have to do something like that? But actually, like we said it right up earlier on, like there is so much negativity towards like trans people at the moment, and it's a lot of people with a lot of money who are paying, and they're doing it wrong. Like, so actually, one of the things that I think about is how I've gone from being in a minority group to now being an ally of another part of the minority group, and how can I do that? Because my fight, and it's never going to be over, but just because my fight's kind of dulled down, is that the right way to say it? There's actually another one there that we should be supporting and we should be doing, and it's that, and it's allowing people to be able to recognise that, like it's never going to end. This kind of to get to where equality and equity is real.
Yeah, I think it's so important. I mean, we watched Tiptoe recently, and it kind of just really reinforced that point of, like you were saying, it's not that the fight is over, it's the fact that the whole reason the community exists as a community and we support each other is because of everything that happens.
Yeah.
We have to be allies to each other, because you can be damn sure if they're going for the people that they feel they're able to now, they'll be coming straight for the others after. And I think that not even for that reason, it's, there was something I read recently about the fact that, they being the people who, and Tiptoe, I can't remember the actor's name who plays the part, but says, they've always hated us. They've just been waiting. The people who have those views, who it's not socially acceptable to say anything about a gay man anymore, or to say anything about that. But it is it's now
being allowed to say it.
They're now allowed to say it about other people, and and then they move on to, well, trans people. Well, that's not normal, clutching pearls. Like, that thing, that otherness has been used, and I think that they try to, I think in the community we have to be really careful not to forget the history of how we were persecuted and what the language was that was being used, because it's being used again.
And it's really interesting. I was away recently with some family, and we're having a conversation about the LGBTQ plus IA, all of these letters and everything like that. And someone said to me, why are you in the same group as that? Like, you're not a trans person, you've got nothing to do. Why is it all part of that one? And I was like, well, do you know what? It was the trans people were fighting for us at Stonewall. Yeah. So let's
Yeah, it's
get
true.
back and support them and give it back for
Yeah.
them and do those different things.
Yeah.
But you're right. It's we're a marginalised community, and we have to be there for each other.
Absolutely.
Within that.
And I think that's the kind of, there is that, I mean, I try to, the whole separation of the letters and people getting confused. It's not about how many letters there are. It's not about the who's part of this group or who's part of that or who you like or who you don't like. It's the fact that, everyone, it's rights, it's human rights, it's human dignity.
100%.
And it's not a debate. It should not be a
But
debate.
it's
you
that
know?
good old saying, isn't it? Like, it's all about divide and conquer. If you get people to go against each
Oh.
other, that's how you win elections. Divide and conquer. It's just a saying that's gone on
Yeah,
forever.
it
But
is.
that's
And
what,
that's exactly what
divide
it'll
and conquer.
be.
It happened in
Yeah.
Northern Ireland. It's playing out again in Northern Ireland. It's just, it's craziness. And you think,
But I think like actually, when you're asking about is sort of learning and development changing. I mean, I think the advent of AI allows this kind of democratization of learning actually. So it's more accessible for people to learn things that actually older structures may not have allowed, and I think that's quite amazing.
Yeah.
And I think alongside that, the reminder is about this kind of human element, which is really what you were just talking about. So when you're designing or when you're creating or when you're supporting, programs that are being talked about, reminding yourself that there might be somebody in that room that is not feeling like they're being treated fairly. They're not feeling like a human being. They're feeling like I could be a number, it could be a group, it could be whatever. So I think I've always felt like, we have a responsibility to kind of go, come into this space and I've got you. It's going to be a safe space. We might challenge, we might offer something, but it's all right. We're going to be respectful. We're going to lean into that. And so then if somebody in that space is challenged by their own kind of thinking about it, good. I hope they leave that room and go, yeah, you have a chance to remain here. I think it's the most powerful thing we've got, right? To remind ourselves what makes us so fabulous as human beings. And I think I think that's as exciting a future with all of the technology and tools that help us to understand that more.
It's so true. We do that in everything that we do in GoSucceed. It's always that thing of, this is just a tool to get you to where you want to be, and how are you using it. So we always say that. I mean, we work with businesses on obviously using AI tools and things like that, but it's exactly that. It's the human side. And I mean, the things that you two do, it is age-old thing about bringing people through learning, like learning new skills, learning new ways of being, learning to understand why this impacts this, learning that. And in a way, that's what it's all about. It's about like progressing through your career, your job, your life, and learning those bits along the way. And that's it. That's human. That cannot be,
Yesterday I was doing like some calling, so for people that I was following up on, I said I'd follow up, and one of the guys said, "Oh my goodness, it's you, Gary." He said, because now I'm just getting all of the, even having bots calling me, like AI thing. And he's like, actually, it's you. And I was like, yeah, it is me, because I said I would call on this date and do these things. And and I booked him in for a meeting. And it's just kind of like that thing, actually. And he's like, no one actually calls you anymore. Everybody's like moving away. They're using bots, using all of these things. And I think that will be the secret sauce of being able to take people over. That is, like traveling upper class on a Virgin plane, it's actually calling someone and not being an economy.
And I think there's an element in there where, for a little short space of time, we've got a really unique selling point. As in, you will speak to a person.
Yeah, it's true.
And it's like you will have a person stood in front of the room with you, creating that safe place for you to be able to be for this learning. And it's like, this is like, who knew that what we do would be our selling point, kind of thing, like that. And this human part of it.
There's also that thing. I mean, there's all this stuff with, like, I don't know if some of the stuff that's coming out of America feels like we're in a sci-fi movie, but a dystopian future. But did you see the robotic teacher that came out in the White House? Melania wielded it, came out walking behind it. So there's this robot. I don't know how progressed it's got, but there's this robot, and literally
was it
says,
there to teach Trump?
no.
It was
there in this creepy voice that came out all like, and it was proposed, Melania went on to say, I think, that it would be the new classroom learning. That would be the new future for whatever. Terrifying, because one, how to quickly get messages to kids that you want to get to them from a government perspective, whatever. But also, I was then reading these things, these reactions to it, and watching these people's reactions, and the role of a teacher whether it's in career, in job, learning development that you do, or whether it's a teacher in a classroom, it's that human element of finding out what that person or what that group needs above and beyond what's on the syllabus, above and beyond what's on the learning. It's about connecting with humans, and that's what it is. And those are the rules that will never go.
Well, I would say I think it's maybe less around teaching certain L&D space anyway, but it's more about enabling them to see it in themselves. So, you know, that's my job, right? It's like, how can you see how brilliant you can be, or those things you need to work on? And there's a lot of talk around it moving to a skills-based sort of landscape around this. The word skills is this kind of, you know, hot. But I don't know. Do you love that little jazzy clip?
It is hot in here.
But maybe just
Oh my God, fun fact for those who love Ric Hayden, can't click fingers.
Yeah, I can't wink either. Sorry, I'm going away from your conversation.
And that's the end of the podcast.
yeah.
On that note. But yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Anyway,
Don't be
well, look,
struggling,
we,
can you
we,
make a
we
laugh?
are
We are
running
coming up to
way,
the
way, way
end.
over.
It
so
has been joyous.
But we do have a final question.
We do.
Yeah, can I do the final question?
You can't.
So-
I could sit here and talk
Rick,
to you
yeah,
all
we
day
could,
before our
but
final
yes.
question, but it is boiling in here, so
It
we
is
have
boiling,
to get on
yes. So, final question, Rick. So, what is the best thing about being queer for you?
I've been thinking about this all day because it's that final question. Like, what is the best thing about being queer, right? And me, I can be me, and I don't need to hold anything back. And you know what? We might be in a time where I have to, but I'll fight for not doing. So yeah, best thing about being queer is just like being me.
Do you know,
Love that.
I do love that, and I think it's, you know, it's so much more profound than that. It is, because I think the people who struggle with, the people who attack us the most, and the people who can't, you know, understand why trans people can be this, or why queer people, why can you be so colorful? Why do we get a Pride Month? Why? They're so not able to be themselves that they are projecting that hate on other people. How dare you have the audacity to live so queerly and so beautifully and so colorfully? I love that. That's a really lovely answer.
And Adam,
Adam, what about you? What's your queer superpower?
what's the best thing
Or
about
what's the
being
best
queer?
thing about being queer?
Don't change the question.
I think
live.
I was thinking about it as, you know, in Neverending Story. Do you know the film Neverending Story? And
I'm
you
gonna start singing the whole song now.
and there's this sort of gets the book, and there's a point when he gets the book and he finds, I think it's like a loft in the school, and opens the book, and then this like world of luck dragons, and you know, I think on a glorious day, that's kind of what it feels like. It feels like you're in this world and you see things differently, and you have like luck dragons in your life, and there's a joy in that. There's just a kind of a joy and a challenge at times to kind of, you know, stay true to who you are and fight for your community. But it feels a very kind of special place to be, and I think it gives you this sort of little bit of insight, and hopefully I think it helps you to feel a deeper sense of humanity, because you're like, I think I understand the people more because I feel a bit different, and I think difference is okay.
I love that. It really is.
And that is the essence of Never-Ending Story, isn't it?
just
It's
sure,
like he shouts his name at the end because he's just got that inner power of, I don't need to be like everybody else.
No.
I love it. And I think
What I love,
fabulous-
obviously.
what-
what I
Don't
love-
watch the
No,
horse
don't-
bit, 'cause that's
don't go
awful.
to the horse. But it is, Joe, it is a lovely way to end, because actually, you know, not that straight people can't have that revelation, but it is that thing of not, and we've said it time and time again in the podcast, not having that map of expectations set out for you, or knowing that it doesn't fit, brings infinite potential of reimagining yourself every day. You get the opportunity. And I think if anyone can take that lesson from, you know, being queer from outside the community, it's, you get a chance to wake up every day and reinvent yourself and be who you want to be, and you know, do what you want to do, you know.
And it's really fun.
Yeah.
Come and join us.
We're colourful for a reason.
We sure are.
Yeah. Lovely. Well, it's been
Thank you.
absolutely joyous. I hope you've had fun. It's been a wild old ride.
Thank you very much. It's been great.
Thank you.
It's been
Thank
so
you.
much fun. We're going to get some fresh air. And we'll see you on the next episode.